Hey, I'm here with Steve Navarli, Del Jackson, LO Hoops. I mean, here we go talking about District 3 and what Steve does. So let's start with this, Steve. Tell us what your job is now. I know you were transitioning last year. Just give us an idea of what your life is right about now.
Well, Del, as a longtime journalist, it was very important for me to stay in the field of working around high school athletics. And I really have the best of both worlds now. I just do it from a different area as the District 3 Director of Communication. And I take care of the power rankings, make sure the website's up to date. I do all the posts, the brackets for the various championships and things like that. I know in your case, it's all about the hoops brackets, but we got a whole bunch more out there that we do as well. And there's some busy times, that's for sure, and we're right in the middle of it with what is turning into a pretty intriguing District 3 tournament for sure.
Yeah, well, it's the highlight of everybody's. And at least in this area, we enjoy it. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about before we get too much into things is District 3 does a digital program.
Yeah, the online program.
I mean, it is crazy that people from outside our area, they're like, what the heck? And actually, I went into a school the other day and I'm like, okay, where's your program? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, I think it's online still.
Yeah.
So we'll do a better job getting that word out for you guys, but it is awesome. It really is.
I will tell you, I can take little to no credit for that. Dave Reeder is our guy that puts those together, and he does it for every sport in every season, and it's incredible. It is such a great amount of work that goes into it, but the presentation itself is fantastic. When you've got rosters, when I was a journalist, and of course things got better later, but many years ago, that was your biggest worry is going to an event or game. I'm not going to be able to get a roster.
Right,
that was always a concern. Or I'm going to have to handwrite a roster, which with my writing was just awful. So the fact that it's on your phone now, that's great. And one thing we've tried to do, but not everybody caught on, is have a Dave creates the scan codes too that every event should actually have like a copy of it. Somebody just go up and put in the code on their phone, and it'll bring up the online program. It is really, really terrific. You got your brackets, you got your rosters, pictures of clowns like me. I mean, what else could you want?
Yeah, nothing, man. I tell me about the brackets. I mean, obviously our neck of the woods, we're checking the brackets all the time, but
sure,
man, you guys get that stuff up so quick. I mean, how do you do that so quickly?
Well, we have a little bit of a system, and so for basketball is the best example of it, really. Dave Bidding is our basketball chair, and we have it that when your game is done, you need to text your score to both Dave Bidding and myself, and then you will see that I will put these scores out on Twitter immediately, and then as soon as I've got everything tweeted, all the scores, then I go in and I update all the brackets and try to get them posted to the site within, let's say, an hour after we're done. Last night was a great example of the system working. We had 22 games. I had every score tweeted prior to 9 o'clock, and I think I had the brackets updated by like 10 after 10.
Yeah. It was incredible. I had a meeting last night, so I didn't get out, but I was certainly checking the scores and everything like that. I know I don't know if you know our guy that works at Circle W Sports. He does one of the district. I think he does District 4 up there. Ed Weaver's his name. So we do something similar to what you're doing, and he's right now he's got all the districts. So I think he's doing a district bracket as well. And maybe all the scores if you can get to his site. But
right,
I know he does. It's similar that we can type in a score and it'll go to our team's website. And it'll also go to the standings website. So it's pretty interesting the way the technology has changed.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. Now, to just do the brackets, because we want our brackets fairly uniform, and obviously our corporate sponsors are on it, as well as a link to the championship day tickets and that. So we try to be as uniform as possible. And really, fortunately, I'm very comfortable with spreadsheets. So, I was ready for that going in. And while you do it by hand, sometimes it's a matter of just getting the right conversion to make sure it uploads in an attractive fashion for the site. So, and now the automatic stuff comes in the power rankings all year when scores are entered. That automatically tabulates rankings, and that brackets are more by hand on my end.
So do you have to enter the scores for the power rankings? Or
Well,
does that go to some database and it's all taken
that
care of?
that should actually be done on the school level. In other words, each school is responsible for uploading their schedules and updating their scores. Now, does that mean that there's not times I've got to go track scores down? I'd like to say it doesn't, but there's times I've got to do it, and I have the ability to certainly enter or change anything as far as not the numbers, but as far as, somebody makes a mistake, enters the wrong score, whatever, I can change all of that. But every once in a while, I got to do some of the updating myself. It's
I
part of the territory.
Yeah, I know. I mean, in our area, a lot of people are using my site for scores and standings and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But I also know outside our area, everybody points to the District 3 website and the PowerPoint. So, kudos to you guys on that. I just think I think it's cool. And then if you can, if we're playing a team from out our area, we can just click on your site and it has a little drop down of who they played. And the technology that District 3 has done is very, very good. And I appreciate that for what we do anyway.
And again, it's not something I can take a ton of credit for. This was all set up when I came on board a year ago, but now I'm just the one responsible to make sure it keeps happening, it keeps working. So
Let's talk about Hershey a little bit. So you have, and I know Dave Bidding's in charge of it, at least this year. You have 6 games going on 2 different days. Was there thought of not going to Hershey at all that you can share with us or not?
well, it's always a thing. We want it there. I mean, how can you not? You've been there how many years, Dell? I mean, the atmosphere there is pretty good. Sometimes, for the smaller games, it seems a little empty. But man, when you get in and that place is even half full, it's loud and it's a treat for the student athlete. So make no mistake, we want to be there. But, in Hershey's on the other side of the coin, Hershey's got a lot of events, and you look at, let's face it. Well, I can't necessarily speak officially, but if I'm looking at, I'm the Giant Center, and the Hershey Bears have a set schedule, not only by the AHL but also by the NHL as as the parent clubs. Well, is there even a Giant Center if there's not a Hershey Bears?
Right. Yes.
And there isn't. So who's going to get priority? We got to understand that. And that was part of the reason then for the Tuesday and Thursday games, because there's hockey Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and
Okay.
that's been a recent change within the AHL schedule. Hershey used to always be on the road Friday,
Right.
home Saturday, and either home or away Sunday. Well, now they actually got some Friday nights sprinkled in. Well, we used to always be there that Friday. What are you going to do?
Right. Do they still, and I know this is not a District 3 thing, but Hershey sponsors the PIAA championships. So do we still have that block of time scheduled into their schedule, or is that varied as well?
In some ways it's varied, but I will say you typically for basketball and wrestling, that's kind of blocked far enough out in advance that that it works. Listen, it's hard to say, is anything forever? Does the Giant Center work for us. Does it work for the PIAA? Yes. Is it a forever thing? It's really, I want to be really honest. It's hard to say. I would like to think it because I love the atmosphere for the kids. I mean, you're a kid playing on a single A school. Your gyms are smaller typically. You're in a completely different atmosphere, and you go to the expanse of the Giant Center. It's a little intimidating, but it's really cool. And I would hate for us to ever lose that. But we always got to be thinking of possibilities, and it's nobody's fault. I don't want to sit here and, oh man, he's talking down on Hershey. That's not it at all. It's just, it's the reality of the world.
What's your role when the PIAA championships go in? I mean, obviously District 3 is the host district, and obviously I know what you guys kind of do behind the scenes, but what is your role? And I know they have communications directors for the PIAA, because we got to deal with them to try to get into the games to get credentialed. So what do you do? What's your role at the games for the PIAA championships?
Personally, I don't have much of a role. It's more, if there's questions via District 3, obviously, if the PIAA said, hey, can you help us out for this because it is in our home district? Of course I will. It really becomes, and I don't want to say fan, because the one thing I'm not allowed to be is a fan, although I'm a fan of all high school athletics. If one of our teams has success at the state level, hey, it's going to be on Twitter, and I'm going to try to have a post on our website as well. So it just becomes a little more how what's going on impacts District 3.
Yeah, and I also enjoy the District 3 website, because you got pictures, you got some new stuff, and that's pretty neat. I mean, that's just, again, I'm just gonna shout out for that. Now, one thing I am gonna pick at, you know, this is coming a little bit. So, the fees for live streaming. I'm looking at some games with these teams, smaller teams, and we're playing at 1 o'clock. It's hard to get people there. And I know it's out of your hands for the live streaming fees, but sometimes that kind of knocks some people out. I know what's happening for the like the semifinal games and things like that. Some teams are kicking in with their boosters, and some teams are kicking in with some advertisers. And just how does that work with a live stream? I mean, you know the fees and the structure, and what's the thought process behind that?
Well, I would say, as far as during we got to go back to the COVID years a little bit, and I think that was something that you had to have live stream, and you had to offer it for free, because you weren't going to get people anyhow. You couldn't have people in your gyms, and I think it became a collective thing. And honestly, Del, I'm going to give you the parallel of the world of journalism, where you got all your content for free for how many years. And now you're looking at subscribers and things like that. It does become a point where giving it away free becomes a little bit of a challenge on our end of things. And we've got to look at the attendance. I mean, the championships is when we make our money, is the tournaments.
Yeah.
And a little bit of that is probably more than I should even admit. I'm not a decision maker, if you will, but I have some input in committee discussions. It is what it is at this point. And I know exactly what you're saying, and I appreciate anybody that comes to me and says, man, that's too much money. I don't know that it's going to go backwards. I'm sorry to say, my friend.
That's okay. Ella Hoops is going to go on record and say that's too much money. But what happens with us? I'll tell you what happens to the little guys like me is, what happens is we have some teams, obviously in a district tournament, and nobody knows that they're getting into Hershey, and they won't know until the last minute. And then what happens, because they know we do some of this stuff, they'll knock on my door and they'll say, hey. And I'll have to say to them, I say, we'll do it. But number one, anytime we do a game, it costs me money. Our company, it costs our company money. Yep. We got to pay production and staff and equipment and all that stuff. But then two, I'm like, here's the fee from District 3, who you are going to this game, but you're playing at 1 o'clock, you can't get your fans there, they're working, or, the school's got to take a day off of school for a basketball game. Well, some schools will be, we're all about it. Other schools will be not.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put a little plug in there for the little boys. And, but the other thing is for us is we love to cover up there. We've been invited. We've been welcome. And I really appreciate it. I know you got some wrestling tonight, but is it wrestling tonight?
It is. We've got what we've got is tonight is the first night of the AAA wrestling championships. The team was a couple weeks ago, team competition, and then tomorrow is the second day of AAA at Spring Grove. But we also have AA running their tournament up at CD East, and that is an all-day affair, about 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. type thing, and we will have 28 district champions crowned through the two classifications. And, it's exciting. It's pretty interesting. It is labor intensive, believe me.
Yeah. One last question I had just kind of came up to my head. So I know the Giant Center's gone to online tickets only.
Yes.
Has that impacted things or not? I mean, it's been what, 2 years now? It'll be the second year.
This is the second year of it, and I don't know if I have a good feel to answer one way or the other as far as what the impact has been on ticket sales, and I think there's always a market for walk-ups. I get that, but almost anything, whether it be Hershey, Cedar Point, and I'm talking kind of the amusement resorts, there's nothing walk up about them anymore. I mean, then there's nothing cash about them either. And I think those two things definitely coincide, that they do everything in advance now. And I'm not picking on Hershey because I don't think it's any different than any other true resort venue would do.
And I mean, at first I was like, a lot of people aren't going to come, but I've gotten a lot of good reports from the Hershey staff. If people don't quite understand it, they have their phone, and people help them right there. So, kudos to them to get people in it that aren't quite tied in. Yeah.
No, you are exactly right. I think if you just said, hey, you're stuck, either use your phone and that's it. But they will help. I know I've walked some people through it a little bit when they maybe don't catch up on the link on the district site. I've had folks reach out to me, and it's part of what you do. And it's funny because I'm kind of the older age of technology, if you will, but I guess because I've worked around it enough, I can I can typically help some people out. So and that's also one of those things that's the future, and it's the present now. It's certainly not going back.
Excellent. Hey, I know you got some things to do today. Thank you for some time, and we look forward to seeing you Tuesday and Thursday up there at the Giant Center.
It's always my pleasure when I run into you and can chat a little bit. I'll look forward to it.
All right, buddy. Thanks.